Hello, boys and girls. This is Ms. Szymanski, and I would like to talk to you about your comparison and contrast paper in just a few words. Comparison and contrast paper is second that comes after the response, and the major difference is that I no longer ask you to provide your opinion on the topic. Comparison and contrast implies that you will compare and contrast the viewpoints of two authors on the topic. So we're interested in seeing what did they say and how did they agree and disagree with each other. We're not asking what you thought about the topic, so that's a critical difference. This is a standard 5-paragraph essay. However, knowing that you now require 2 sources, obviously it will take a little bit more time of research. Now that you are familiar with Academic Search Complete and references and things of that nature, it should take the same amount of time because you're more familiar with it, but do budget your time in such a way that you have more time to do your research, okay? Now, here are a couple of traps that you may encounter. Number one, it's a 2-source essay. When students hear comparison and contrast, they're like, oh yeah, I've done this before in high school, I can totally do that. Well, let me tell you, this is slightly different. You are to compare the views of 2 authors on the same topic. I repeat, on the same topic. Moreover, just because they talked about the same topic does not mean that they're going to be suitable. You will need to find not only 2 sources on the same topic, but they will discuss the same things. So you can compare and contrast because they mentioned the same things. If they're on the same topic, but they talked about different aspects of it, you cannot really compare or contrast anything because it's just not there. So that is where a lot of research time is taken up, is to look for 2 suitable sources. Let me give you an example real quick, and I'll also give you an example of where you could go wrong, so you will save some time. So the best way to avoid the traps, a little hack here, is choose a topic that is suitable for this type of paper. The what I'm going to use as an example is school uniforms. People agree and disagree with the implementation of school uniforms in public schools. You will also notice, if you start reading on it, is that they bring up and argue about the same things. Usually it's the cost of uniforms that everybody cares about, the convenience of it, whether or not it infringes on students' freedoms, and so forth. So it would be, you literally could pick any school uniforms article and they will bring up these things, so you cannot go wrong. Other topics, however, are not that easy. You may find that they talk about it, but they talk about different aspects of it. Another trap that students fall into, they will want to compare not the ideas, but the situations out there. For example, I had a student who was out, of course, consulting me, writing a paper on online learning versus in-person learning. And that was wrong because these are 2 different topics. Do you see the difference? If she had just chosen online learning and then 2 authors who wrote about online learning, this person said this person said that, obviously they're gonna both bring up is the issue of having technology available to you in the first place. Is this really a democratic option, so to speak? Is everybody treated equally in online learning? Do they have the same access? Number 2 that she should have looked at, they probably both brought up the fact that let's evaluate student success. You know, that would be reasonable. But if you are comparing 2 things that are 2 different topics, obviously you're not going to have enough. And obviously the whole paper ended up being her opinion, that how she felt about it. So it was entirely wrong. So make sure that you don't fall into this trap, that you attend a class and you talk to me about it so that you get started on the right track. If you get started on the right foot, it will go smoothly. If you get started wrong, everything will go wrong. So again, back to school uniforms. So some topics are really good, and you will notice very quickly that yes, I have these 3 things in common between the 2 authors. If it helps you, you can do a Venn diagram, the 2 circles that overlap, and then you have your author A, author B, and in the middle are 3 things that they both talked about. So that may be helpful. And again, as I said, it's a simple 5-paragraph essay, except that now in the introduction you will mention both authors, and your thesis will become author A, or John Smith and Angela Smith agree and disagree with each other on these 3 things, such as cost, convenience, freedom of expression, and so forth, whatever the case may be. Also, please do not be afraid they may agree on 3 points, and that's great. Your authors may disagree on all 3 points, and that's also great. They may agree on 1, disagree on 2 others. That's completely fine. Your job is just to report it. So that's the purpose of the paper. So that is absolutely fine. Do not feel like they have to agree entirely or disagree entirely. So that part is completely fine. And then the body of your paper, the 1 to 3, will obviously be your points of comparison. And your topic sentences will read, the first point both authors bring up is cost of uniforms. And then author A said this, author B said this. You want to provide some evidence from the text in the form of paraphrases, summaries, or direct quotes, obviously documented. And only in conclusion, after you've summarized, restated your thesis, you will have one sentence to share your opinion. And you can say, I feel that my personal views are closer to this author than this author. So you can do something like that. That's just one sentence to put your little 2 cents or 5 cents. I'm always confused. I think it's 2 cents. Put your 2 cents in that one sentence. The rest of it you cannot do. Now, when it comes to your references page, now you have 2 sources, and the critical thing is 2 sources must be in alphabetical order. Whenever you have more than 1 source, and you will always have more than 1 source for the rest of your life now, they have to be in alphabetical order. And again, if we have the complete entry, we go by the author's last name, the first initial, which one is appropriate. If you don't have an author, or one or both, you're only working with titles, then the first letter of the title. If you have one that you have an author's last name and then one is just title, doesn't matter. It's just whatever the first letter is, okay? Again, this is something we'll go over in class, and I will check your work before you turn it in. So this is something that you should plan to do, okay? Let me see if there's any other... No.